The United States has imposed more sanctions on a range of prominent Iranians for what it called the brutal repression of the Iranian people. The measures coincide with new demonstrations in Iran to mark the death of Jina Mahsa Amini in police custody 40 days ago. After a memorial service, Iranian security forces opened fire on protesters in Amini's hometown.
Thousands flock to Jina Mahsa Amini's grave in her Kurdish hometown of Sakis, defying the heightened security measures. Their purpose, to pay tribute to her at the end of the 40-day mourning period and to express their anger towards the Iranian regime. Inside the cemetery, they chant, "This year is the year of blood. Khomeini will be toppled." In the city, security forces clashed with the protesters. Authorities also cut internet access. In the capital, Tehran, cars honked. Protesters chanted, but they were dispersed using tear gas. The protests triggered by the death of Amini are not dying down. Iran blames Western powers for fueling the protests.
We have announced a new list of Iranian Foreign Ministry sanctions against 8 EU entities and 12 individuals. Those 8 entities and 12 people, during what happened recently in Iran, supported and encouraged terrorism, extremism, and violence.
Hundreds of protesters have been killed by the government's brutal crackdown. But they seem united in their mission to push for a regime change. The movement has become one of the biggest challenges for the country's clerical leadership.
German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock has condemned Iran for sanctioning European media, including DW's Farsi service. Baerbock vowed to impose even tighter restrictions on the Islamic Republic over Tehran's brutal crackdown on women's rights protesters. Iran's foreign ministry announced a blacklist of media outlets in retaliation for an earlier round of EU sanctions. Right, well, we're joined now by Max Lux. He's a member of the German Parliament from the Greens Party, and he sits on the Committee on Foreign Affairs and Committee on Human Rights and Humanitarian Aid. Welcome to DW. I'd like to start by getting your reaction to Tehran's latest round of sanctions. EU lawmakers, German institutions, including members of DW's Farsi service.
Yeah, I think the regime feels it has reached a limit and now they try to make something, but I think that won't work. The system works in such a way that security purchases fat large sums of money by the regime, but the regime is almost bankrupt. These sanctions cannot hide the fact the people in the streets are chanting that no money should be sent to Gaza, to Lebanon. They are calling for an end to international terror financing, but the regime can no longer distract from this with absurd sanctions.
Well, Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock, a member of your party, the Greens, says there can be no more business as usual with Iran. What does that actually mean, though, in concrete terms?
Yeah, there can't be any usual business with the regime of Iran. And I think it's very important to stand on the side of the brave civil society and of the brave human rights movement of Iran. And concretely, it means, for example, to freeze assets located in Germany belonging to sanctioned Iranian officials. It means further to expand measures and resources to support the protest movement in Iran and help the Iranian people produce assets and share information freely and securely on the internet and other media, such as through access to VPN infrastructure.
Well, tell us, let's talk about other ways that the German government could support Iranians. Asylum, for example. Iranians rank among the top asylum-seeking nationalities here in Germany, yet the latest data shows that less than 1/3 were actually granted protection or have been granted protection so far this year. Is it perhaps time to change that a bit?
I think it's very important to protect asylum seekers here in Germany and to give them the support they need. And it's also very important from my point of view, and my home state of North Rhine-Westphalia did that, for example, to suspend deportations from Germany to Iran and to work to ensure that Iranians who have fled to Germany receive protection here, because we have to stand on the side of this brave civil society. And the first step to stand on the side of this brave civil society is to stand on the side of this brave civil society who is already part of our country.
Tell us, why do you think Iranians believe, or why should Iranians believe, that the new sanctions that we're seeing will bring about any real change, when we've seen that the past sanctions haven't resulted in a change in direction for the regime?
I think it's not the political West and not Germany and the European Union who can bring the real change to Iran. It's Germany, the political West, and the European Union who have to support that people in Iran are forcing real change, because what we see there is not just a call for little steps, it's a call for a revolution. It's a call for a change of the regime. And this is why we have them to support in every way we can. And this is why it's good that Germany took the lead on sanctions in the European Union, and our foreign ministry brings these cases of women to the UN Human Rights Council, for example. And this is very important, to don't forget the people who died and who were murdered and killed by this regime in Iran.
Max Lux, member of the German Parliament, thanks for joining us on DW.
Thank you.